Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. So today is a long-awaited video. Many of you have asked me for, so we're going to be talking all about e-files. How to pick an e-file, what to look for in an e-file, what kind of bits there are out there, how do we use these bits. I'm going to explain all that to you. I'm going to show you how to use them. We're going to get into it right now. Let's get started. So if you have seen my nail room tour, then you know what I have in this room of mine. So what I have done was on my website, I've created a new page called The Nail Shop. Go check it out. I've listed every single item that I have purchased from Amazon, from nail art to supplies to equipment to furniture to everything that you can think of that I recommend. All these things that are on this list I use on a daily basis for over a year now. And I want you to check it out. I have it all laid out for you. So you can go ahead to KeishaNails.com and check that out. So how do we choose the right e-file? So the first thing I want to talk about when you're choosing an e-file is your power and your RPM speed. So your RPM speed is revolutions per minute. This is the number of times that the bit is going to turn in a complete circle in 1 minute. So most machines vary in RPM capacity anywhere between 0 and 35,000. So working in a middle range of its capacity is going to prolong the life of the motor. So that's one thing that you want to look for when you're looking to buy e-file. The second thing is torque. Torque is the power in the machine of its ability to keep turning when you are applying pressure. So it doesn't stop or bog down or just stop rotating when you press it. If it does, then it doesn't have enough torque. So I don't know, some of you have bought maybe like a little $20 machine off of Amazon. And if you have, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're drilling and you're filing. And the minute you apply any pressure, it just stops. It doesn't hurt, it's not burning or anything, it just stops. That does not have enough torque. So you always want to make sure you will see that in cheaper machines. As you get a little bit more advanced, even something as $50-$60, you probably won't come across that issue. But anything below that, you're going to be compromising the torque capability. The third thing is your tolerance. So this is the tightness inside of the shank. The shank is the hole right here where the bit is going to go. So if you have a bit that does not fit into your handpiece, it could be because of the tolerance. If the bit slips out while you're using, then the tolerance is too loose. This is why one of the things that you should be looking for when you purchase a machine is how does the bit fit into the machine. So some of them have a turn style like that. Some of them, I had a machine that I used to have to press a button and then turn it. So that didn't have really good tolerance because what would happen is as I'm working, it would all of a sudden just be able to slip right out. You should never be able to just pull your bit right out. That means your tolerance is not up there and it can fall out. You don't want it to fly out or fall out while you're working with this. So you always want to make sure that the bit does not slip out while in use. Another thing is usage. So it's obvious that the more you're going to be using your machine, the more you want to invest in it. Yes, it's okay to start off with something that's $50-$60, but then as you are using it, all of these little things I'm mentioning are going to start to come in. Torque, the tolerance, is it going to last you a long time? So you don't want to spend $50 to buy a drill every couple years, every 6 months, or you can just say, you know what, I'm actually a little bit busy now, I'm using my machine, I'm going to make that investment and spend $100, $200, $300 for a good quality drill. Be forward and reverse. So you will only need to shift into reverse if you are left-handed. If you are a left-handed nail technician, you should be working in reverse. Everybody else, you should just be working in forward. That is the only way that the forward reverse really comes into play. Another important thing is a closed casing handpiece. This is very important, and this is something I didn't really realize how important it was until later on in my career. So when they say a closed casing handpiece, so some handpieces have slots where dust and debris can get into it. So let's take a look at this handpiece, for example. You see these little openings? You can even see the dust that has collected inside of it. So what ends up happening is over time, dust is flying into this handpiece. It'll start to make a little noise. It'll be fine for a while. It takes a while, but eventually it'll start to make a lot of noise. It'll start to wear down on you and it won't last. This is my Kiara Sky one. And you see this is a closed casing handpiece. So we want to make sure, and I have seen some fairly reasonably priced ones that are closed case, so that's not a expensive versus cheap thing, just something that you should always look for. It should have a closed casing handpiece. And your variable speed dial. We always want to make sure in this drill, for example, we can choose our speed. Anytime you buy a machine and it's just on and off, you never want that. You always want to be in control of your speed. So with this one, we have the LED light and it's telling me how far I'm going and the speed that I'm going. And then this one, it just goes on and off. So we have from low to high. So we have complete control. These are just some of the few things that when shopping for a drill, you should definitely always look out for. Okay, so here we have some drill bits that you will come across as you're purchasing and doing nails. This is my personal collection. I don't have everything, but this is what I have on hand. So the first thing I want to talk about, the first type of bit that you'll notice is a diamond bit. So these are diamond bits, as you can see. They have more consistency in construction because each particle on this bit is cut the same size and shape and then adhered to a stainless steel bit. It's used in a back and forth motion when the machine is in either forward or reverse position. You will see these usually come with the drill when you buy it. So these are your diamond bits. Then we have carbon bits. So this row is all the different types of carbon bits. So let's take a look at this one, for example. Carbon bits are made of carbon metal. And as you can see, they have like flute-like cuts that shave the enhancement product instead of scratching it. Flutes are long and slender cuts or grooves, and they're found on these bits. The larger and deeper grooves, the coarser the bit, and the more shallow and closely spaced create a finer bit. So let's take a look at some of these. This is my personal preference. I like carbon bits the most. As you can see, I have the most of them. So for example, some of them, you can tell they come with the letter marking on them. So this is two different brands. So they have the letter F, we have fine, and then we have a medium. You can see that. These are what I use, let's say, after my application, because it's nice and fine, it doesn't scratch it. At that point, I'm just filing the nail. I don't want to take any of the enhancement away. Then we have this bit, which like they said, you can see it's used with all the dust in it. So the tornado bit, this is a bit from Young Nails. This shaves enhancements down. So we see it has like the straight flutes in them going down. This is very sharp and coarse. This removes product. Then we have these, which are kind of standard. This one I got from Kiara Sky. These are just random ones I have. This is my favorite bit ever. I've had this bit for probably about 10 years now. Every time I try to replace it, they never have it. But this is a fine bit. It's very worn. You can see the edges do get worn as you are using them. So you want to be also sure to kind of clean in it. It gets a little caked up, so you do want to clean your bits. This is another coarse one. You can see the flutes in this one, how they cut a little bit different. So like, as I said, it's more deeper, the groove, so it's gonna be a very coarse bit. So you can tell from a picture, just if you were shopping on Amazon, you can tell from the picture, this is gonna be coarse or it's gonna be fine. They usually say it, but you can start to identify it by just seeing it itself. So then we have barrel bits. These bits are usually used to shorten the length and shape of the surface of the nail. And then tapered barrel bits. This is actually a tapered barrel bit. So they're used to shape the top surface of the nail and to cut maintenance on small nails at a flat angle and at the cuticle and side walls, as well as to prep the cuticle area for a fill. And these are standard that usually come in the drill, with the drill as well. Then we have our cuticle safety bits. So I have several cuticle safety bits. Most are carbon. Different types of coarseness as we just went through. We have the ceramic bit. Then I have a little bit of a coarse one. This one's more coarse. Cuticle safety bit. And then this one's a little bit more fine. I use this one in particular to take off gel polish, especially on the toes, because it's cuticle safety. I won't cut them, and then because it is not sharp, it won't kind of take the enhancement down. It's just deep enough to remove the gel polish. Next, we have a cone shaped bit, which is this. This is used at the cuticle, underneath the nail, on top of the nail, and to prep the cuticle area for a fill. It comes in various sizes. Again, this is a bit that you might see when you buy a drill. It comes with it. Football shaped bits, which is this one that looks just like a football. This is used for underneath the nails and the cuticle area. It does have a point, so it could damage the hyponychium, which we learned in the last video. If you missed that video, look, check out the nail anatomy video. So the hyponychium is that area that's underneath the skin. So if you are drilling, you want to be careful that you don't damage anyone's hyponychium. So we want to use this guy with care. So this, we have our UNC bits. So we use these to clean underneath the nail for tight spaces, such as under the nail, the side walls, and for making holes if you're doing any type of designer nails. So this I have in 2 different sizes. I mainly use this one. This one's a little too thin for me. I don't really like to go, like they say, be careful with the hyponychium. It's a little too thin for me. So I do prefer to use the bigger one. These are bullet bits. So we use bullet bits. They're fine diamond style to prep the natural nail and at the cuticle area for nail enhancement work. You see they come in 2 different sizes and it's shaped kind of like a bullet. Needle bits are used at the cuticle, underneath the nails, and in tight small spaces and for specialty design work. This one we would not use by the cuticle, or this is kind of if you're doing any type of jewelry and you need something sharp to drill a hole into the nail. This is why it's super pointy and long. So you don't really want to mess on top of someone's nail or underneath it with this bit. So this is more for specialty design work. Then we have mandrels. Mandrels are the metal or rubber bits that are inserted into the handpiece. So the sanding and arbor bands are slipped over these mandrels. So you usually see a kit come with this. It's standard to receive these. Sometimes they have the sanding bits attached with it or not, but these are what they look like underneath. This is what the mandrels look like with the sanding band. So sanding and arbor bands, these are used for shortening and shaping the top surface of the nails, removing gel. Fine sanding bands are good for smoothing the surface of toenails and in preparation for your nail enhancements. I only use the fine ones. I feel the other ones will scratch and damage the nail. Just so you can get an example. This is a coarse and this is a fine. So this is very sharp. This is very sharp. I don't even know why they make these. They're super sharp and they will scratch it up and you're just gonna have to buff it out. So I don't even use those. We just stick with the fine one. These are my recommendations and you can buy them in bulk from everywhere, from Amazon to any nail company that sells drills, and they'll sell the fine sanding bands. Then we have our cuticle bits. So this is a nice cuticle bit that I got from Young Nails. I do like to use this one. This is a little bit just different shape, but it still does the same job. So this is gonna get that fine detail around the cuticle without cutting the client. And then we have these bits, these funny guys that you always see come in a kit. These are used to, basically you can put this on to dust the nail. So if I were to put this on and it kind of just dusts it, or some people use this to dust their actual bits. So these are your basic bits of what you might come across and using to do your nail enhancements. What I have here is 4 different nails. I want to show you how you can use some of these bits that we spoke about in filing various forms. So right here we have a nail that we're going to prep. Then I have a nail that just had an application. It's roughed up. It hasn't been drilled yet. Then we have an encapsulated design. And then here we have a 3D design. So I'm just gonna go over with you how we can use these different bits that we spoke about to handle different situations on a client. So the first thing I wanna do, let's talk about our prepping. What do we do when we prep? Obviously we're gonna cut the nail, we're gonna file it. Then I would go ahead and just push back the client's cuticle. We're gonna pretend this is cuticle. And then I'm gonna proceed with my cuticle safety bit. When you are putting in your drill bit, we never wanna stick our bit all the way down. This bit comes like that, like as a protective thing, but we never want our bit to be like this. You always wanna give it a little bit of space If someone has longer nails, sometimes you have to come out just a little bit. It should be able to cover the whole entire nail. So if their nails are really long, you might have to come out a little bit. So that's just one. We don't want to put our bit in all the way. So I'm going to put in my cuticle safety bit, turn it, always make sure it's nice and tight. I'm going to turn my speed on. And when I'm using my speed, for example, with this machine, I know when I'm doing anything on natural nail, I stick at number 9 or 10. If you are using a drill that has the numbers, try to memorize your numbers. When I'm drilling on the feet and removing gel polish, I don't pass 9 or 10 because after that I might burn them. This is just a thin layer of gel polish on the toes, so I don't want to go there. When I'm working on enhancements, I'll go to maybe about 12 or 13. I don't really pass 13 or 14 on this machine. So be mindful of the numbers if you are fortunate enough to be able to see, so you know what you are working on, what's a safe speed for most people. So I'm gonna put it to number 9, and what I'll do is just go over the cuticle and remove anything that's going on. I'll go on the side, and sometimes if this is a fill-in, I will go ahead and just use it just a little bit. It's a little bit rough, so I don't want to do it too much. Turn this all the way off. And then what I like to do after that is go in with my sanding bit again, not pushing all the way down, locking it up, still staying at number 9. And I like to just use this to kind of dust the natural nail. That is it. So am I prepping the nail? That's all I do. And after this, she's ready to have the tip applied. When I'm blending the tip, I also use the sanding bit to just blend where the tip meets. I do not go back over this, and I do not use my machine to rough up the nail tip. I use a buffer for that because we don't want to wear down the plastic of a tip. This is a very powerful machine, all of them, so I like to do that with a regular buffer or a nail file. So this next nail that we have is a nail that just had the application. So after application, we're gonna go ahead and just file the sidewalls like we normally would. And as I mentioned, I have my favorite bit that I use on everybody forever. And I like to use this fine carbide bit, not pushing it on the side. I'm gonna come out a little bit more because this nail's a little longer. Make sure that's locked. Again, now there's an enhancement on. Now I have some protection on natural nail. Now I can go up to 13. And what I like to do is always hold the client. If this was a real person and I'm in this area, I'm gonna pull back the skin. It's hard to show on this mannequin, but I'm gonna pull back the skin. I'm gonna support my hand with my finger and drill around the cuticle. If you feel that you are a little skeptical, or if she has cuticle or nail skin that's kind of buried in there, you can push this back. You can hold it this way. Whatever makes you comfortable so you're not hurting them, you're doing the job. I'm at an angle with this. Let me just turn it to the side and hold it so you see. So this is my position. I'm at an angle of the nail. I'm not flat. I'm not coming down. I'm at a nice 45-degree angle where I'm filing the nail. So this bit I like because it's nice and fine. I'm gonna go ahead and file. If we file this way, it will just kind of smooth out the product. If you file in a back and forth motion, just make sure that everything is nice and even. When I'm by the cuticle, I never file. If I'm filing this way, it's usually here. I'm never gonna file like this by someone's cuticle because that's an accident waiting to happen. So I'm always gonna be super slow. You see how I'm bouncing? Bouncing when I'm near those edges. And when I come here, I can go a little slower. And once we reach out of the area per skin, I can go a little bit faster. And then I can pull this nail up and kind of fix the edges, go underneath, so on and so forth. When that's done, I like to use my UNC bit. Sometimes clients have, and again, I'm gonna go to like number 9 or 10 for this, just because this is a longer nail, so it's probably nothing. But if this was a short nail, that hyponychium would be right there. So you wanna just lightly go around the edges. Usually I'm doing this if they have some growth and it's their nail, any type of separation, I want to blend that together and so it doesn't separate. So I'm just lightly drilling the sides, and I'll drill right here to blend that natural nail. Or if it's a new set, like this nail for example, we could see this is old, but I must have did this with the form. So this is an example of me just blending that in. I want to blend in that nail with the enhancement. I'm just gonna blend it in, get rid of any marks. Sometimes customers like to pick at these little things. If this is a very short set and it's a new set, and you see they have a little bit of glue caked up or something right here, honestly, I tell the client, I get it as much as I can. I tell them I'll get it next time when it grows out. It's not really worth trying to poke someone, because you will hurt them to try to get something when it's a very, very short set. It's very hard to do. So after that, I go into my buffing and so on and so forth. That's it for the bits that I use for the enhancement. So now we have an encapsulated nail. So for an encapsulated nail, I have a client, she comes in and she says she doesn't want this design anymore. She wants to do something totally different. How we should be doing encapsulated designs. If you missed my video on how to encapsulate, you can go check that out. And I always suggest starting with a very thin layer of clear, then building your encapsulation on top of that. So if your client doesn't want this look next time, she doesn't have to keep it. So what I'm gonna do is use my cuticle safety bit to remove the gel polish. Again, not going all the way, because it's an enhancement. I'm going to take it to like maybe number 10 on my machine, and I'm just lightly getting rid of that gel top coat. That's the only thing I'm doing with it. Again, I'm always supporting. I'm never like this. Never, ever, ever try to hold it. Always, if you're holding yourself here, I'm holding myself here, I'm holding myself here. I'm always supporting my hand. It's never balancing on itself. I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of the gel polish. Once that's done, I'm gonna go in with my turbo bit. So this bit is very powerful. Again, we see a little dust on here, so I'm just gonna dust that off. And I'm gonna go on with this turbo bit to dig into the enhancement. This is gonna remove product very quickly. So I wanna go at a very low speed, make sure I'm very steady and very careful. So go ahead and hold this. I'm drilling off. When I'm on the edge, I could be a little bit faster, but once I come down by the cuticle, I'm very slow. And you want to go in little increments to make sure you're removing the product. But once you start to see you're removing it a little bit, just remember, after I remove this, I'm still going to go in with my cuticle bit and my sanding bit. So if I have little tiny traces left, that's fine. I'll get it in that shot. I don't want to sit here and burn her with this heavy, strong bit. This is just to remove most of the product. Super careful by the cuticle. You can hear that bouncing motion. Oh. You can hear that. You can hear that bouncing motion because I'm teetering my way. I don't want to just roll over. I want to make sure I know what I'm getting and what I'm removing. Even if it's bit by bit. And that's fine. Because like I said, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead with my other bits. So that will remove it. So now push back the cuticle, and then I would go ahead and get the cuticle. To go a little bit over here, because also too, anything that is lifting, we don't want to pull it up with nippers. We want to thin it out so it naturally just falls off while we're filing. So I already see that this is lifting. So I want to just thin this out. You see? Exactly. It's going to thin itself out to the point where it'll just wipe away. When you are removing lifted nails with nippers, it disturbs the enhancement. So we never want to really do this. You want to do it, if you do have to, it should be, you see how paper thin this is? That's how thin we want it. You don't ever want to have to pressure it, because it's going to disturb the enhancement. It could cause lifting actually inside the nail somewhere else. So after I do my cuticle safety bit, I'm going to go back with my sanding band. So this is kind of a good example as what like a fill-in that's lifting. Went over that, so now I'm gonna go with my sanding band. And this last step will usually remove anything that's lifting, and it's gonna blend in for the fill-in. I have to go ahead with this and remove any little traces of that enhancement. So I'm gonna blend that in. A speck of glitter. Okay, so now after buffing, this nail is ready to be filled. We had a little bit of hands, but now it's all blended in. I would just place a little bit of glue, buff this out, so on and so forth. That's ready. That's how I handle that. So this is a scenario where we have an ombre. Don't mind my little heart. I was just doing this for class one day. And we'd say we have a 3D art. How do we get rid of 3D art? And then we have an ombre underneath that. She's over all of this and wants to get rid of that. So same thing I would do. Like before, I'm gonna go in with my turbo bit. And what I'm gonna do is put a lot of pressure down to get rid of this heart. Get totally rid of it. And I'm applying pressure. My speed is only 11 right now, but I have a lot of pressure on it because I know they're not gonna feel this. Once that's gone, let's get rid of this ombre. And let's get rid of that. On the edge, you can work a little rough because no one's gonna feel that. So like when it comes to the color ombre, I can press down. I have a lot of pressure going on. But you see, I'm holding her and I'm super steady because this is no joke type of bit. You will cut somebody really bad. So I'm right down to that clear level that I made. So now I know I can ease up. I'm holding this so tight that it hurts my wrist a little. That's how tight that if you are unsure, better safe than sorry. But you see, I dug a hole to get me to that first level. So now I know what the rest of the nail needs to come down to. So now we're here, and now I know I can come down to that. Again, if this was a real person, I'm gonna move because I have to come down more and I know that's gonna burn. So I'm gonna go over here now. I have a lot of pressure still because I know I need to have this come all the way down. back in this area to work on it a little bit more. Okay, and now we have the brown tip. So if this was a real person, it would be different. But I'm gonna come all the way down. See, I didn't do a layer of clear. This is just the nail tip. So again, just removing it a little bit. Again, if this was a real person, obviously I would have stopped already because this would have been the natural nail. She would be in a lot of pain right now. But I'm just showing you about how we want to always kind of move when we need to file. At this point, I would have cut this off with some clippers because that's gone. And then we can actually just use a different bit or the same bit to remove the rest of the product. So that is how we would handle different scenarios using our e-file and the bits that we talked about today. So before we finish up, just a few things that I want to point out to you that you should be mindful of when you are e-filing. You should be washing and disinfecting each bit every time you use it on someone. If you have a client that has any type of fungus or anything, you should definitely be sanitizing. After that, even if it's something that's superficial that comes off once you start e-filing, especially with the sanding bits, what I do is I'll just remove that and replace it because these, as you know, should be changed after every person. You should not be reusing them, and they definitely can't be sanitized, the sanding bands. So you always want to make sure that you're disinfecting after every service. Also, one thing is something that we call rings of fire. So rings of fire are, have you ever seen someone or experienced yourself these lines? We call them in the streets fill-in marks. Back in the day when I know, we just think, oh, I have a little line on my nail every time I get a fill-in. No, these are called rings of fire. That is because the technician is pressing down too hard or going too fast of a speed with the e-file. So it's digging into the surface of the nail, and this causes a lot of damage to the natural nail. Yes, it grows out. Sometimes you can file it away, but that is not a common normal thing that should happen. Just know if you have experienced that, that was a technician's fault. If you're causing that, it's your fault. So we want to be mindful of rings of fire so we can make sure that our clients have nice, healthy, natural nails at all times. Also, ever so often, stop the e-file and use a nail brush to remove dust before continuing. Especially sometimes we're taking off enhancements, it's a lot of dust flying. So every once in a blue, we just want to stop, dust that off, make sure dust doesn't get into the shank. It's not going to pile up underneath or on top of your bit. So just dust it off, especially if you are working with the open case machine. We always want to just dust it, dust off the sitting piece, just dust off everything before continuing. Also, if you are using a machine, we always want to make sure that we are holding our client's skin back on the side walls, especially. We don't want to cause any grabbing of the machine. Grabbing occurs when the bit grabs the skin around the nail. When filing, grabbing can be avoided by using the bit at a proper angle when working around the side walls and the cuticle area and at the correct speed. So we always want to hold back skin when we are in this area, no matter if you're using a cuticle safety bit or anything. We just want to make sure, because sometimes we're going fast and one little, what did you say? And your machine rolls over someone's finger. We don't want to see that happen. So we're going to definitely always make sure that we're pulling back the skin and not pressing down too hard. We don't want to cause any burning. We don't want to cause any heat or friction. So ever so often, again, you always want to lift the bit off of the nail. If you are drilling and you need to remove in a certain area, what I'll do is sometimes I'll come back to that nail, give that nail a little bit of a break. Other times I'll go to another part of the nail. I'm gonna drill over here, I'll go here, then I'll come back over here. and then I'll go back over here. I don't want to stay steady in the same area. That is when all of a sudden she's going to say, ow, that hurts, because it's burning. We don't ever want to stay too much in the same area. We always want to move it around, lifting our drill frequently to avoid overheating the nail and burning our client. So that's everything e-filing. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the description box below. I'll see you next time. Bye.